Hi, this is Dave at Golden State Inspections, and I just got done here at 35 Pebble River. And since you couldn't be here, I figured I'd go over a few things with you. Overall, the house is in pretty good shape. Everything I found, I would have expected to find on a house this age. I didn't get on the roof because it's a metal roof, and I don't want to risk denting it. But from the eaves, I didn't notice anything that was improper. So you could always hire a roofer who may be able to get up there for you. But again, I didn't see anything from the eaves that would be concerning. Now, from down below, it looks like the bar drafter up here is probably rotten. You can see the darkness there. I'd be willing to bet that you could probably poke right through it. So I'm assuming that will probably be on the pest report as well. And then there's some other moisture damaged areas that I'll point out as we go around. So your main electrical panel's here. It's 200 amps, so there's plenty of juice coming in here. The one concern is that there's some wires going to a 50 amp breaker that are not large enough to trip it if it needed to trip. So I'll recommend an electrician take a look at that. Then there's a white wire going to one of the breakers, which is fairly typical. A lot of times they'll use the wrong style wire, but then they don't mark it so that people like me know that it's going to the right thing. So I wouldn't be terribly concerned with that so much as the wires that aren't large enough to trip it. So one thing that's going to be important on this house is touch-up paint, because there's a lot of wood here, so you're going to save yourself a lot of time and money by getting paint on especially the low areas. I would have expected to find some rot on some of the pergola here, but I didn't. But if you don't paint it, I'm sure you will regret that. So throw some paint on it and then seal. Just about anywhere where two different building materials meet should have a seal. There's a little bit of moisture damage here, which probably is from both failed paint and failed seals. So a little bit of damage there. Before we go too far, there are some gaps at the garage door where it looks like rodents might be able to get in. There are some droppings in the attic, and then there's one other area that I'll point out on the side of the house where I think they can get in. The light insert is damaged. You may be able to see it in through here. Main water shutoff is up here. It's going to be the yellow knob. The pressure's good, although on the sprinklers, this is your shutoff valve. It was off when I arrived. I turned it on to test the sprinklers, and there's a slow drip here. And then the majority of the sprinkler valves themselves do leak. Some of them also didn't appear to operate any of the sprinkler heads, so I'm assuming maybe they've been abandoned. Anyway, there's a fun and clean out here in case you ever needed to run a snake for a clog. A little bit more moisture damage here to the trim. And on the gutters, there's plenty of rust in the gutters, and it looks like in a few areas it is starting to rust through, so I'll call for repair there. But that's about it for the front of the house. And we'll go straight to the backyard and get that out of the way. So some of the dual pane windows do have failed factory seals, so you'll see the haziness there, and there's a couple at the front of the house, I think a couple at the south side of the house too. It's fairly typical. I find seemingly at least one in every house. This one had, I think, 4 or 5. It's mostly cosmetic, so if you can live with it, live with it. But you can have them repaired. More moisture damage down here to the siding. Some more trim up above the bay window here. And then, getting back to the roof, I did actually forget until I was back here. There is a gap up here where you can see some of the roof sheathing, so I would see about having that resealed. But that looks to be pretty easy. Here are the majority of your sprinkler valves, and again, most of these did leak as well. More moisture damage down here as well. And then here to the beam. Rafter tail getting a little bit soft. And a bar drafter over here as well. So this stuff all should have been in the pest report. The other area where rodents might be able to get in are going to be here, where the refrigerant line set for the AC goes through the building, and then at the bottom of the rear garage door. So I'd throw some weather stripping there. And then the door here itself is starting to rot as well, so you'll see my poke mark there. So the door's getting soft. And a little bit more siding, same sort of deal. Over, let's see, right here, and then up high. And I think some of these areas, including this particular one, probably are not going to be in the pest report. I tend to do a lot of probing with the screwdriver in areas that a lot of people don't. So I don't think I saw a poke mark there before I got here. Probably a good idea to put a louvered vent here for your dryer so that birds and stuff don't make nests in there. On the AC, we're just making sure that it cools at least 20 degrees. You're pretty quickly beyond the 20 and continued to cool. The heat pump is in the garage, and it did heat. I'll show that to you when we get inside. So the only appliances that we don't test are going to be the refrigerator and the washer and dryer, but everything else I did test, everything operates. And actually the microwave as well we don't test because it's not technically installed. I also take the model numbers and we turn them into a service that checks for recalls, although they only go back 10 years, and I think the majority of this stuff is probably older than 10 years, but nonetheless, look for a recall check to email you on that. Fan here, couldn't get it to operate using the remote. Could be as simple as just battery replacement in the remote. Let's see, fireplace looks good. Looks like there may have been a leak over here in the office at one point. Again, from the outside, I would just make all the necessary seals. I didn't have any active moisture here, but then again, it hasn't been raining. This wet bar sink I didn't test because the shutoff valves appear to be off. And even though I'd like to turn them on for you, sometimes I turn them on and they won't stop leaking, so I don't want to risk that, especially because they have some belongings down here, and there actually is a little bit of staining. You'll see a picture in the report. So those may leak. Bathroom, I don't recall anything from here, but if there is something, it'll be in the report for you. Now, some of these windows too appear to have sprung rods. So the spring-loaded rods that sit in the side of the windows to help keep them in position. So a lot of them open, but don't actually stay in position. And then there were a couple, let's see, I think it was the middle one here and the middle one back here that didn't actually open. So I don't know what's going on there, but they're kind of jammed up. So anyway, upstairs. Here's your master bedroom. I couldn't tell what was going on above here. You don't have very good visibility in the attic, but there does appear to be some apparent mold growth here and some staining. So at least clean it. Again, no moisture, but also no rain. Toilet here is a bit loose, so I would definitely tighten that back down. I go into a lot of homes where the ceiling and floor structure is all rotten because they didn't tighten the toilets. So I recommend that get repaired. And then I wasn't 100% sure about this mixer valve. There was some moisture that appeared to be coming from the valve, which looks like a leak. Although I'm not 100% confident that it's leaking, it could just be residual water from whoever ran it last. Nonetheless, I'll call for further evaluation of the plumber there. And that's just about it. I don't think I called much in here. Bedroom here. Just like in the office, it looks like there may have been some leaks. So go ahead and seal up some areas. And then you've got two different attic spaces, lower one here, upper one there. Roof structure looks good, plenty of insulation. Some of the bat insulation appears to be falling down in a couple spots. So if you find that it's too hot or too cold, maybe start by putting the bats back up. But anyway, that's about it for me. I'm sure there's going to be some more stuff in the report that I didn't mention now, either because I'm forgetting or because it's kind of incidental and I don't want to bore you to death. But if there's something in the report that concerns you, feel free to give me a call, or if you just wanted to go over the report line by line, I'd be more than happy to do so. Anyway, good luck with the new house. Thanks a lot.